Morning. Thanks for joining us. We're getting a little slow start here. I know there's some traffic on 131 with the closure down in my neck of the woods. So thanks for taking time out of your day to join us. You're at the Finance and Fiscal Resources Committee meeting, and it's Tuesday, April 16 at 8:30 a.m. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Please state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes.
How is everybody doing? I'm D. Jones. I stay at 967 Tamarack Avenue. I'm very thankful to be alive. I'm just very, very excited to be alive. I think self-love is very needed across the universe because it's a lot of people that don't love themselves, but I wish everybody loved themselves and loved other people. I wish people love other people how I love other people. But I'm very excited to say that the $100,000 esports finals is finally live at the DeVos Place, so people can actually go buy tickets to that $100,000 esports finals that we'll be doing June 8th. And I've been able to speak to the Congresswoman, and I've been able to speak to the Lieutenant Governor's office about getting state support to really help our county be able to do things fair, just, and equitably, because I know that esports is a very powerful thing, and I know that it can change lives. It can change the trajectory of lives. It can bring economic boosts. It can get people out of poverty. It can get people out of the struggle. It can create good paying, equitable careers and jobs, and it can bring different people from different backgrounds and different cultures together. I also want to let you guys know that after this $100,000 esports finals in December, the Ultimate Endgamers League, the UEL, is looking to host a 7-figure competition at the DeVos Place. So nobody's going to little bro D. Jones. I ain't even going to say the number on it. But that's what we already speaking to the U.S. Senator's office. We're speaking to the U.S. Congresswoman's office. We're speaking to the Lieutenant Governor's office. Nobody's going to little bro D. Jones, and I'm black. So we're going to get this equity thing all right. We're going to do this. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you what it truly looks like to be fair, just, and equitable. What it looks to be diverse and truly culturally sound. What it looks like to give your all and be able to up the stakes where I know that nobody can look at me and just be like, oh, yeah, 100,000 was okay. But now it's 7 figures. That's the 5th largest global cash prize in gaming history here in the state of Michigan. And D. Jones did that. I didn't do it in Detroit or anywhere else. I was just in Detroit because we were shooting a film called Gamers. That's going to be very big too. We got an esports energy drink. We're going to have all of the products. I was helping with the creative process of that film. I'm going to be a big dog for real. I'm going to be a billionaire. The DeVosses and the Van Andels, they going to like me one of these days. They don't have to like the guy. A 7-figure esports finals at the DeVos Place, can't even bid on something like that. It's only because of D. Jones, and those prize pools will get even bigger. The opportunities will get better. Our education system will get better. I'm looking very, very forward to, just pushing the thinking that I have, the culturally, truly diverse, equitable esports competitions that's coming to Kent County. And I stay here. And I brought it here, and I'm a person of color. That is so beautiful. I'm not the little dog. I'm the big dog for sure. For sure, for sure. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Dee. I always appreciate your passion. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this morning? Please come on up, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Denny. I'm with the Kent County Office of the Defender. We're right next door at 250 Monroe, Suite 800. Thank you for allowing me to speak briefly. I know that this stuff is not on your agenda, but I know that later you're going to be briefed on the county's indigent defense plan. And I just wanted to put some information out. Our organization did send out to everybody's emails a sort of a longer memorandum. I won't belabor those things because I just want to iterate to folks that are here today that we have a passionate, dedicated group of attorneys that have served this county well. And there has been so much change over the past just 2 years where we have created a more holistic, client-centered defense model that is serving our clients better than they ever have before in its history. We've been around for 50 years, and we have created a sort of a new way and introduced to Kent County. Judges didn't always like it. They called it the touchy-feely stuff. But we have mitigation specialists that humanize our clients. We have investigators that look hard at the cases and have proven our clients innocent and have led to prosecutors agreeing and dismissing. Our record is strong. We are very well aware. I am personally very well aware of the MIDC standards, and I'm always making sure that those are met and exceeded as we possibly can. So we just want you to know that you have a very a passionate group of defenders in your community already that are doing an excellent job and want to continue to do so. And we have had a bit of a survey that we put out, and overwhelmingly, more than 90% of the respondents have indicated that they prefer a defense office that is independent from the government, that is because it gives them more faith in the justice system, that the people that are providing the defense when people are being prosecuted are independent and can fight and not have a fear of government interference in that defense. And that's important. That's important to us. That's important to our clients. And I think it's important to the system as a whole. So as you go forth later and you hear information, we would ask you to please consider the information we've submitted, again, by email last night and previously, and also consider that we have a very well thought of, highly supported community of defenders here that are in place and want to continue to doing the job. Sometimes, anytime there has been any sort of concern raised by the county, we have addressed it immediately, and I believe to the satisfaction of the county. We have to renew the contract every year, and we've never had any conversations at renewal time or even in between that there are concerns with our services that have been unmet and unaddressed. So I just wanted this body to know that and hear that, and I appreciate your time.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this morning? Please come on up, state your name. All right, seeing none, our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Coleman, support by Commissioner McLeod. All those in favor, please say yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item, number 3, comes from us from Equalization, and it's a 2024 Equalization Report.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to adopt the 2024 Equalization Report. Summary. The Bureau of Equalization has completed its review of the 2024 assessment rolls of the 21 townships and 9 cities of Kent County. The Bureau of Equalization recommends the adoption of the state equalized value of the real and personal property in the total combined amount of $47,555,098,428. This is an increase of 13.28% over the 2023 SEV of $41,978,923,177. The state taxable value of the real and personal property is $33,633,377,200, an increase of 9.07% over the 2023 STV of $30,864,710,022. The equalized values have been prepared in accordance with MCL 211.34 as amended and in time to be submitted to the State Tax Commission by the required deadline of May 6, 2024.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Oliver King. Questions or comments? We do have our equalization director and staff here as well. Any questions? Yeah, Commissioner Hildenbrand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just if maybe we could get just a little history, so this is 13% over last year. Is that typical? Kind of just curious about any sort of trends over the last 5 to 10 years on increase year over year.
Yeah, we have Megan Van Hoos here to answer those questions.
Good morning. Yeah, I did prepare a few things for you. So I've got a few slides to illustrate some of the things that I think you might be interested in. Again, Megan Van Hoos, Director of Equalization, and joined here today with Brenda Ritchie and Philip Wall, the Deputy Directors. So, yeah, like you read off all those numbers. I think they're terribly hard to, visualize. So, like I said, I put together some slides. Let me just. So here, well, this one's really hard to read. You have this in paper, but that kind of illustrates the movement over the years. So you're seeing every year from 1995 forward. And the shorter lines, I think they're red, purple up there. That's going to be your taxable value. And the blue ones that are quite a bit longer, that's going to be your state equalized value. So you can see how that's been growing over the years, and then the gap between the taxable and SEV. So like you asked, this year it was a 13.28% increase over last year in the SEV. And from 2022 to 2023, when Matt presented, this time last year, the increase was 12.53%. At that time, I recall he reported to you that that was the largest increase that he had ever seen. In fact, so we have beat that again this year, and it's actually the largest increase we've seen since 1990, and prior to that, since the early 80s. So we are continuing to see a sharp increase. Not the greatest. I believe it was 1980 or 81, we saw a 30% increase, and that was the greatest increase that we have recorded in our data. The taxable value did go up 9.07% this year from 23 to 24, and in the prior year, 22 to 23, it was 8.61%. So again, another increase there. This just is kind of another visual representation of that equalized value percent change. I'm a very data-driven chart person, so I like the way that this looks. So same numbers, just a different way for you to look at it. You can see the last couple years continuing to go up. You can see back there in 2010, 2011, and 12 where we had a real sharp decline that I'm sure we all remember. This is percent change by local unit, so you can see which units, which townships and cities you represent, kind of where they're at as a percentage change for their equalized and taxable values. Some of them were pretty high, but they're kind of all sitting around that same 13, 14, some 15% there. Give you a second to view that if you like. Okay, I'm going to flip up to the next one here. So I find this interesting, and I feel like people often ask, how each class of property is changing. So the blue bar is going to be your 1 year from 23 to 24, and the orange bar is going to be the cumulative change from 2020 to 2024. So you can see we're still pushing hard in the last year as compared to the last 5 years. Overall and, by class. So our residential class is growing faster than the others, but then you've got your ag and industrial trailing shortly behind, and then commercial behind that. Okay. I just like the way that this kind of illustrates the consumer price index, gives you a little bit of a viewpoint on the inflation and what's affecting our taxable value. You can see last year it was 7.9%. That was the biggest spike we've seen since Proposal A. So, of course, we cap that taxable value increase at 5% because of Proposal A, but this is really telling on what's happening in our market. This year was 5.01%, and so that was capped at 5.1%, excuse me, and that was capped at 5%. So. And somebody had asked last year about the trend in transfers of ownership and uncappings. So I grabbed that information for you this year. This is a 5-year trend of, the blue bar is transfers of ownership of all kinds. So Ladybird deeds, life estates, family transfers. And then the orange bar is going to be anything that was a transfer that was rise to the occasion of an uncapping. So that's where that taxable value uncaps for the year after the sale. I find this interesting because when you put it on a chart, you can see that we have had a bit of a decrease in uncappings and transfers. 2021 was quite a peak. 2024, well, it's actually 2023 because we're working a year behind and when we do this work. So the current year, what's uncapping for 2024 is actually down about 30% from 2021 and about 17% from 2022. This I thought you might find interesting, as with your respective jurisdictions, what the true cash value is per residential parcel. That just kind of shows you where the higher value properties are and where the lower value properties exist. This really doesn't have anything to do with equalization, but as commissioners, thought you would appreciate it. So, okay, and then. The last slide I put together, I do believe this question was asked and passed as well, how we fare compared to our neighboring counties. So Kent County is kind of right in the middle there. You can see Muskegon and Newaygo had a little bit greater increases than we did, but overall, the average was right in that 13.5% for an SEV increase. And I think around just high 8% for the taxable increase. And so we're sitting right in the average there as a county for our neighboring counties. If you have any questions or want me to pop back to any of these slides, I'd be happy to. Yeah.
Commissioner Antor.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive report. I was kind of curious about the agricultural values. It's showing that we're less than 1% of the total on that pie chart.
Oh, on your pie chart?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one's not included on the slides here, that's in your packet.
I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but generally overall on ag, are we seeing an increase? Are we losing farms, and is it kind of a wash, or is there any type of trend? There's been a lot of development pressure. I'm just wondering how that may be affecting our ag.
There is a lot of development pressure. The value is still increasing. I mean, you can see that on here, the value increase to our agricultural parcels still exists. I don't know if.
Is the ag value increasing or the development value? Or is that
Let me see if Philip Wall might have an opinion. You got an opinion on that? Come on up, please. Philip does a lot of work with the land values and all that analysis, so I'd love to let him speak to you.
Short answer, yes. Development prices are going up substantially, as well as the actual tillable acreage. Both are going up. And yes, our overall number of agriculturally classed parcels are going down. But I would say it's probably slowed that trend because of our conservation efforts. It would be going down even quicker without it.
It is, I'm sorry, beat a dead horse, but I'm just wondering, is that, those parcels, you got prime ag, then you've got not prime. And of course, we always like to see the acreage that isn't prime, perhaps being developed. And just for economic values and looking into the future, this is a big industry in Michigan. I'm just wondering if there's been any work to look into any trends, long-term trends, because it's very valuable to have this farmland because it increases, agriculture equipment and stuff like that, and set up shop here as long as we continue with our heritage. And it just looks like it's a little less than what I had anticipated. So I don't know if there's a question in there. I'm just.
Yeah, ultimately how it's trending, we're going to reflect what the market is doing. I think you have pressures from two sides. You have the corporate farming, which will pay five figures per acre, and then you have the development side of stuff. Both of those are going to put a squeeze on our ag properties.
Sure, I understand. I appreciate. I'll probably follow up later with you to kind of drill down on some of this stuff a little better. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. Could you, just from this conversation, I know that calculating land values is a different ball of wax than just calculating SEV. Can you walk us through a little bit of what the process for calculating land values are? Or would that be a little too much time? I'm just looking at your face.
Yeah, you can give the cliff notes of that.
We have a relatively built-out county in comparison to the other 82 across the state. So we will use a mixture of sales. So you have a vacant land sale, great. They're just buying square footage or acreage. And then you can look at improved properties. And that's either us removing an improvement value or kind of using a percent basis. So if a residential property sells with a home built on it, typically it's 80% of that value is in the home price, 20% is in land. We can apply a similar concept to commercial properties or ag especially.
Is it valuable to use the kind of the almost tear down purchases, taking the purchase of a property and then within a year that the building is demolished for something else, right, to build something other than that? because if someone is purchasing that property to build it, they're purchasing that land. Has that been used before in trying to calculate land values?
It has. Land is the only permanent fixture. So in those cases, we would be adding a demolition cost to what someone would be buying a property for to come to its ultimate value.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment from me, just that I think as the years continue to unfold here, I'm definitely worried, just seeing these numbers continue in this direction, just because it presents a significant, so the tax burden then presents a significant issue for primarily housing affordability in our community. It seems like in two primary areas, one being someone that's lived in a starter home for a decade, and someone else, just starting their adult life wants to buy that, and then they do, and then they're shocked to discover after the taxes are uncapped that, hey, there's an extra $200 a month that I wasn't expecting to have to pay. That's just in taxes. So I think that's a significant issue for a lot of young people and young families. And just generally, these numbers these last couple years are, I think, accurate, but indicative of, everyone's taxes will be going up 5% a year for quite a number of years into the foreseeable future. And yet people's incomes are unlikely to be going up by the same amount. And so that's putting a squeeze on a lot of families in Kent County. And so it's just something, it's one of those realities of our current economic situation. But I do think we should be, cognizant of it and look to what we can do to kind of help with that burden for our community members in the future.
All right, any other questions or comments? One thing, in my world, I sell construction supplies and I work with a lot of contractors. We talked a little bit about uncapping, when someone purchases a home. What are the new construction numbers, like the percentages compared to previous years?
Yeah, I didn't prepare that for you today, but I would be happy to.
Okay.
I'll get it for you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Actually, Commissioner, Chair, I did look at, yesterday we were just presented with the building starts, and I was reviewing those numbers, and actually our building starts are strong. Over the past few years, they're very strong. So I can get actual new construction values for you, but we haven't seen a decline in our new construction. First quarter of this year beat out the last first quarter of the last 2 years, and so we are on track, surprisingly, to continue to see new construction. Mm-hmm. That is a problem, though, right? It's a supply-demand issue. That's why we're seeing such a sharp increase in value, and why people are struggling to find affordable housing, because there isn't any. So, yeah.
People tend to stay in their place, or there's not enough for sale for them to buy, so they're looking for something new, and I can definitely agree with those, percentages and increases over the last, 5 years or so. It seems like it's booming.
Yeah.
But any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so we're going to be voting on this. So all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
I think I'm still on spring break mode here. Item number 4 comes to us from our drain commissioner, and it's the Walker number 4 drainage district bonds.
Okay. Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to authorize the issuance of Walker number 4 Drainage District Bond, Series 2024. Summary. The Walker number 4 Drainage District, a Kent County drainage district under the jurisdiction of the Drain Commissioner, is authorized under Act 40, Public Acts of Michigan, 1956, as amended for the making of specific intra-county drain improvements, and will issue its bonds in order to finance the improvements. The proposed resolution will authorize the pledge of the county's limited tax full faith and credit as backup security on the bonds. The county treasurer to execute a certificate of the county to comply with the continuing disclosure, the county administrator and chairperson of the Board of Commissioners to prepare and approve portions of the official statement that pertain to the county and the execution of all other documents as necessary in order to close on the issuance of the proposed bonds. The bond proceeds will be used for necessary improvements by the Walker Number 4 Drainage District in a special assessment district established by the Drainage District in an amount not to exceed $1,675,000. The principal of and interest on the bonds will be payable from assessments to be made upon public corporations and/or benefited properties in the special assessment district. The pledge of full faith and credit will allow the property owners and public corporations to pay their assessments over time and provide a better interest rate in doing so, thus providing a substantial benefit to the residents of the county. The method of sale will be determined based on the best current market offerings at the time of sale. Staff anticipates closing on the bonds in June of 2024. Bond counsel has reviewed and approved all documents.
All right, thanks, Sal. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Hildenbrand. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Kallman. Questions or comments regarding? Yes, Commissioner Kallman.
I'm just curious on these, so certainly I'm very supportive of allowing those residents who are being assessed these costs to pay it over time. I'm just curious, from an amount that's, in the scheme of things, small, 1.7 million, why we have to go to external bonding sources as opposed to just borrowing from ourselves, so to speak. So I don't know if there's like legal reasons we couldn't for these like assessments, or we have to do it in this, external markets.
Well, it looks like we have Jeff Dode here to answer that very question.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good question, because I asked the same thing. So we did talk it over with our bond counsel, who was here as well, Roger Sweats. But basically, we came up with the notion that 20-year debt for the county is not something we typically would be interested in. It's long-term to hold out those dollars. We would be making an interest rate, but our treasurer doesn't invest funds for 20 years. So if it was a 10-year time frame, we definitely probably would consider it, but 20 years we just thought was too long to hold the county's funds.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you. Just your comment sparked a question. Is the rationalization for not investing funds over 20 years, is that statutory, or is that just a good business practice given our annual needs to fund services?
Yeah, it's not statutory. It's just, in my opinion, good business sense, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. That brings us to item number 5 on our agenda from Fiscal Services. It's layered amortization approach for pension and VEBA plans.
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to improve implementing a layered amortization approach for the pension and VEBA, which is Voluntary Employees Beneficiary Association plans, when the amortization period of actuarial gains and losses has 15 years remaining. Summary. Periodically, which means typically every 5 years, both the pension and VEBA plans review all the assumptions used in the annual actuarial valuations. The health and viability of the plans requires that assumptions are updated to most closely align with actual experience and best practices. At the pension and VEBA meetings on February 21, 2024, the boards reviewed the 5-year experience studies prepared by the plan's actuary, Gabriel Roeder Smith and Company, and updated assumptions under their purview. In addition, the boards took action to recommend to the Board of Commissioners to adopt a layered amortization approach as recommended by the plan's actuary. Plan documents require the Board of Commissioners to approve changes to amortization tables. Layered amortization periods mitigate potential volatility in annual contribution rates. The current actuarial valuation report computes contribution amounts using a 16-year closed amortization period. Under a layered approach, unfunded accrued liabilities will continue to be amortized over a closed period. However, going forward, any new gains or losses resulting from experience, benefit changes, and assumption changes would be amortized over a new closed 15-year period.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Is there support? All right, so moved by Commissioner Coleman, support by Commissioner Hildenbrand. Questions or comments? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you. I know we all looked at the agenda and noted that pension and VEBA plans layered amortization would probably be the most exciting item on the agenda. I am just failing to understand the actual reasoning here. So mitigate potential volatility in annual contribution rates. I don't know what that means, and I'm not sure why the 15 versus 16 year makes any kind of difference in amortization of these costs we're paying in.
Maybe explain it like we're in fifth grade or something.
Well, that would, me and Michelle were arm wrestling, who had to come talk about this, but apparently I lost. So yeah, right now we use a closed 16-year period. So if you have $100 of unfunded liability, they divide that by 16 years and you pay that amount over that time. Well, to avoid swings in the contribution rates, either gains or losses will now, so that $100 right now will go over the 16 years. The new amount, let's say next year we have another $100, that'll be over a fixed 15-year period. The next year, if we have a $200, that'll be over a new 15-year period. So what it does is to prevent spikes in the contribution rates. And same thing if we have huge gains, that won't implement the gain all in 1 year. It'll be over a long period of time. So what we're trying to do is keep flat contribution rates over time. So basically, it's all these new periods that keep extending over time, and this is pretty common practice. I don't know if I- I don't know
Which shelters
if I
annual
helped.
budgets from spikes
Correct.
in expenses that we might not have the revenue to cover. So it smooths out the whole thing instead of having it go like this every year.
Chair, if I could follow up.
Yeah.
So I probably need another cup of coffee before I'm going to understand.
Me too.
But so we're smoothing out our contributions to these funds, and if I recall, there was some kind of like GASB changes or something a few years ago to account for like our contributions into these long-term expenses, and so it's smoothing out our payments in to make up those kind of gaps in like unfunded long-term liabilities that we started a number of years ago. Is that what we're like accomplishing with these dollars, and we're just trying to smooth out like our budgetary impact of putting those dollars into these funds?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say we lost $2 million this year. If you amortize that $2 million over a 10-year period, right, your annual contributions are going to spike a lot higher than doing it over a 15-year period. So every year they'll look at this, and if there's a gain, they'll smooth that new gain over 15 years. If there's a loss, they'll smooth that new loss over 15 years. So over time, you're going to have several series of gains and losses that will keep the contribution rates more smooth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item? Yes, Commissioner Antor.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
I know across the state and country, there's been a big movement to get out from underneath the defined benefit plans and go to more traditional. And I'm just wondering, a lot of the public pensions are failing, and they're upside down, and there's all kinds of examples. What are we doing different, I guess, and how are we stacking up against some of the other plans?
Michelle's the pension expert, but I can try to answer that or start to answer it. So we've done a really good job over a really long time, always making the annual required contributions as outlined by our actuary reports. Some plans quit contributing in times when they were overfunded. The county's never done that. In addition, we've also modified our benefits where the employees and the employer share in the costs significantly. So it's kept our plan well funded. It's always been, for most of the years, overfunded. It's slightly underfunded right now, but we changed, most of that was a result of changing the mortality tables, which people are living longer, according to the last study. So, and again, over time, we've always contributed the amounts that were required by us, and we've kept our plan significantly funded. Do you have anything to add to that, Michelle?
I think one of the major contributors is over time in the last 20 years, the employees through collective bargaining have agreed to pay higher contribution rates. The goal was the county, it's difficult for employers, right, to continually shoulder the burden of higher rates. And through negotiations, the employee cap on pension contribution rate has gone from 6.5 to the current 9.5. And the current employee contribution rate in 2024 is 9.21%. So we're not quite to the cap, but the employees have shown a very a dedication and a desire to maintain this plan and a willingness to contribute more to that to get to the point where it's a more equal cost sharing between the county and employees.
I appreciate that. And it seems like we're kind of these days more the exception than the rule, because these things are imploding all over the place. And some of them are so far upside down, facing states to bail out major cities, which is, taxpayers see that and they're going, what are we doing?
You're
So-
absolutely right. I mean, we see in the news, we always hear about those plans, the plans that are failing and underfunded. Our plan is currently 97.8% funded. A new valuation is being prepared right now by our plan's actuary. That always comes out in May. The pension board adopted the changes under their purview. We're asking you all to adopt the change of the amortization period. And we've maintained conservative changes. Plans that fail tend to not move forward because you can manipulate the data. Your actuary can absolutely make a plan appear better off than it is. We've actually been very conservative in the fact that we want to be upfront about the health of the plan and where it stands. And plans that are underfunded, there's some that are severely underfunded. And as Jeff indicated, their employers are not making the necessary contributions and in fact hadn't made them for years and years. I think the county's dedication and the employees' dedication to the plan and keeping it well-funded and with our goal of always being 100% still holds true today.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I know it's a lot of work. It's just that bad taste people have in their mouth when they see terrible plans. The City of Detroit's public schools were like, I want to say $5 billion upside down at one point. But they get bailed out. A lot of places, they got bailed out because there's no options left. And then you reward really bad management behavior with, and it's hard to get out of that cycle. Because you don't, when you're doing a lousy job and you keep getting bailed out, it's like, I'm going to keep doing a lousy job. You can have a cake and eat it too. So I appreciate what this county does, and I have heard from other places that our process is very thoughtful and a lot of due diligence goes in, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Al, did you have something to
Yeah,
add?
I was just going to mention that the average public plan in Michigan is about 70% funded. So close to 98, I think, is hitting it pretty good. And then there's a lot of them in Michigan that are substantially below 70% even, so.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Thank you for all the details and helping us understand the item at hand. So our next item is from Fiscal Services, the 2025 Capital Improvement Program.
Action requested, approve the Administrative Capital Improvement Program project proposal to be included in the county's 2025 budget. Summary, the 2025 CIP requests were reviewed and a recommendation was prepared by a staff committee including representation from Facilities Management, Information Technology, Park, Sheriff, and Fiscal Services. During the March 28, 2024 CIP work session, the Administrator's CIP proposal was reviewed in detail by the County Board of Commissioners. The proposal includes 35 projects at a total cost of $8,854,456. Financing for the CIP projects is proposed to be drawn from general fund support of $7,905,391 and $949,065 from other sources. The board CIP policy calls for a minimum of the equivalent of .20 mils to be allocated to the CIP budget annually. The general fund support for the 2025 CIP proposal equates to approximately .225 mils. With the concurrence of the Finance and Physical Resources Committee, Funding for these projects will be included in the 2025 budget scheduled for board approval on August 22, 2024.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Wooden. Questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the work that's been done with this. I appreciate the presentation provided in our previous work sessions. I did have one question. I know we're constantly trying to improve this process and tinker with it. One thought I did have as I was reviewing it is it may be helpful to see in when these reports are provided, projects that have been requested previously but not funded. So maybe in the description to show like, if item 79 under the Sheriff's Department had been requested in 2023 and 2022, it might just help us know, is this something that continues to be pushed because it's humming along and it can wait a little bit longer, or the line item is so large that we really should look at a different funding source for it? And it might just help this body kind of take a higher level view to start picking out those potential outliers that we continue to struggle to figure out how to pay for. So, just a
Yeah.
thought.
We can figure out a format to do that.
That's a great suggestion. Yes, Commissioner Hildenbrand.
Thank you, Chair Brevi. Is there a reason the 35 projects, I don't see them included here? Is there a reason they're not included in our, or can we get I missed the work session. So.
Yeah, there was a memo that went out that listed all of them, and then we
Okay.
reviewed that again at the work session.
Okay.
But we can get that to you again.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. That brings us to item number 7, which is miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner miscellaneous? None? All right, we are adjourned, and our next meeting will be on Tuesday, May 7 at 8:30 a.m. Thank you.